This season for Shweta's Talkies, we shot in Bombay, we shot in Goa, we shot in Delhi. 70 to 100 years of businesses which are still thriving. On a journey with me this season for these heritage businesses and the exceptional personalities which still run it. Stay with me on this season. Enjoy.
I'm at the iconic Mumbai Samachar building, formerly known as the Bombay Samachar. This newspaper is over 200 years old, and I sit with the Padma Bhushan awardee, Mr. Hormusji Cama, who still leads it.
I'm very proud, very honoured to be sitting in the offices of Mumbai Samachar. Not many of you know this, but it has been running for over 201 years. The history is rich, the building is beautiful, and I am today very honoured to be sitting with Mr. Hormusji N, the chairman of Mumbai Samachar. Thank you for this time of yours today. We are very honoured. The idea was for the generations ahead to get to know a little bit about your history, this beautiful building.
Difficult to do in the small time frame we've got, but yes. Let's see. See, Fardunji Marasban started the paper in 1822 on the 1st of July. And the reason was very simple. Gujaratis, who were the largest trading community in those days, needed to know the arrival and departure dates of ships, because all goods were being transported by ships. And there was no publication that gave them that information. So Marasban decided, why don't I start a small newsletter saying that such and such ship is coming on such and such date, it's going to dock here, it's going to leave on such and such date, and these are the goods on that ship, and so on and so forth. That's how we started. He must have started it in good times because the paper still exists today. But he had a disagreement with his partner on the way forward. He wanted to make it a Parsi communal paper. And the partner disagreed. He said, no, it should be a paper which should be for all Gujarati speaking and reading communities. Bohras, Jains, Muslims, whatever. So he left after 10 years in 1932 and started a communal paper called Jame Jamshed, which today is India's second oldest paper.
Oh, Jame Jamshed.
Jame Jamshed. It comes out as a weekly. It doesn't print a lot of copies, but it's still in existence. Anyway, the paper transformed into a weekly and then a daily, and did reasonably well, had its ups and downs, till it came to our hands. In fact, it came into our hands as payment of a bad debt.
1933 approximately.
1933 is when we took it over. 1932 was when they owed us money.
Okay.
We took them into liquidation. Caro, there's a legal firm here, Mullah and Mullah, Craigie, Blunt and Caro. Caro was our solicitor. We went to courts in Bombay, asked for liquidation and our payment. Interestingly, the English judge refused to close down the company, citing reasons that what will happen to the families of the employees. So our lawyer argued. He said, we are not concerned with that, we are concerned with our dues. You pay us our dues and we walk. But the judge didn't accept that. The owners couldn't pay, so we were compelled to take over the paper.
I see.
At that time, the building did not belong to us, rent unpaid. The machinery did not belong to us. It was mortgaged to the Central Bank of India, which was run by Sir Sorabji Pochkhanawala. And there were lots of other people we owed money to. The landlady of the building approached us and offered to sell the building to us for 15,000 rupees.
Oh, which year was this?
1933.
50, this whole building?
Whole building for 15,000 rupees. Now you may well ask, why 15,000? The reason in her mind was very simple. She was a money lender. She was getting nothing out of the building because the landlords had not paid her installments. There was another Parsi family called the Sidwas who wanted to buy what is today the Regal Cinema.
I see.
They wanted to buy that building, for which they wanted a loan of 15,000 rupees. So she decided that if she got 15,000 from us, she would get rid of a liability, put that money to use by lending it to the Sidwa family and get a return out of it. Unfortunately, Bombay Samachar at that time had no money. So my grandfather put 15,000 rupees of his own funds and bought the building personally.
So what was your grandfather's name?
Mancheji. So he bought the building personally. That's how we became owners of the building. Meanwhile, Central Bank of India kept on sending us notices because the machine was mortgaged to them and payment hadn't been made. So they kept threatening to repossess the machine.
I see.
After we bought the building, my grandfather reversed the tables and sent a notice to Central Bank
Oh wow.
saying your machine is occupying my building.
Your machine is occupied.
My
Okay. Okay.
Please remove it or pay me rent. So Sir Sorabji Pochkanawala came running to say, what is this? So my grandfather said, the building is mine. Bombay Samachar, nothing to do with. Machine is yours, take it out. Pochkanawala said, what will I do with the machine? My grandfather said, that's not my problem, that's yours. Long story cut short, they came to a settlement and we bought over the machine at a small amount. Then my grandfather called a meeting of all the people Bombay Samachar owed money to. And there were lots. And he spoke to them and told them that he is in the same boat as they are. Samachar has no money, but if they believed in him, he would in a period of time pay them back a rupee for every rupee. But if they didn't believe in him, if they didn't trust him, today he could pay them only 10 paisa to the rupee. Choice was theirs. My grandfather always said he was very fortunate that nobody trusted him. So everyone took 10 paisa to the rupee and walked. So that's how we began in 1933. Freedom movement started. People were eager to read what's happening in the country. So circulation started going up. It started going up to an extent where our old printing machine could not cope.
Okay. And this was all in this same
All in this building. But independence came and we came into the late 50s when we felt the need to buy a new printing press for a higher circulation. When we had the money, war with China was looming.
This is
61, 62.
1961, 62.
So we decided to shop for a printing machine, priority being delivery dates. Who would be able to deliver in the shortest period of time?
I see.
And the answer was an American manufacturer called Goss. Goss said we will deliver. And we were eager to get the machine in before war with China broke out. We were certain that war is imminent. The government still thought China was a friend of ours, but we thought otherwise. The machine came in just as the war began. Circulations again started going up, and that's how we grew. In the mid to late 60s, it's a very less known fact that we were the first newspaper to print 4 color, and we entered into a competition for color printing in Europe.
Oh, so by now, how many languages are you doing?
Only one, only
one.
Gujarati.
Gujarati.
Only Gujarati. Bombay Samachar, only Gujarati.
Only.
Bombay Chronicle was our English paper,
Yes.
but that's another story.
Right.
We entered the competition and we won. we were the first to win an international color printing newspaper competition from India. 66, 67 around that time. And then it just continued. We became 150 years old in 1972, and
Wow.
then we became 200 years old in 2022, and now we've just become 201 years.
So what were the machines like those days? You're talking about color printing. I'm thinking now it's...
They were primitive. But what is interesting is what were the technologies like when Marasban started. You know, you had printing blocks made out of metal. But in those days, they were made out of wood. And the alphabet on each wooden block had to be in reverse image, because when the paper went, it would be the correct image. So Marasban's family, the women and children in his family, used to sit in front of mirrors and with their hand carve out each letter to make wooden blocks. So the first copies would have very irregular letters because they were all handmade. The blocks were handmade. Each letter was hand carved.
Did you decide on a specific font?
There was the concept of font didn't exist.
I see.
I mean, you carved a particular alphabet the way you did.
Oh.
Somebody else from the family carved it the way he or she did. So each letter was different. Each character was different.
Were they allocated letters to do, or did they just start?
I have no idea.
You have no
I have
idea.
no idea.
And this, so you're talking about days where you're using ink, black ink, was it? The ink you used?
Yes, yes, yes.
It must be very different from the ink you use
Oh yes,
now.
oh yes.
What was the difference then, and how did you, I mean, I'm sure...
Well, now you have water-based, environmentally friendly inks. Those days it was oil. Your basic ink was oil and a powder called carbon black.
Okay.
So it was basically carbon powder mixed with oil. It was a horrible, it smelled and it really blackened. In fact, up to the, I would say 70s, the quality of ink, printing ink for newspapers was such that when you read and finished a newspaper, you had to go and really wash your hands with soap because your fingers got black.
So the paper also changed, I think, the kind of paper which used...
Paper changed. Paper has become...
How has your paper changed, or...?
I am not a paper technologist, but I believe that the manufacturing processes and the raw materials used have improved the quality of paper.
So you had a, and I'm doing my research in this first one, I'm sitting with you and I'm so honored to do so. The tagline really got me. It said, Aval Dainik, Nishpaksh Dainik. It is so beautiful because I first of all, it is so close to how India was and then. Aval Dainik is an exemplary citizen, I think. How did one come about with this line? Was it you? Did you inherit it? Did you pass it on?
It was not me, and honestly, I don't have an answer to that.
Fair enough.
No idea.
Advertising changed quite a lot. Like you said, when it was primarily for the schedules for all the boats.
That's all. Huh? That's all. That was all. In those days, that was all. Then, as the paper picked up and goods started seeing the value of marketing, advertisements for products, consumer goods basically started.
Do you remember your first partner in advertising, which was a big deal, or it kind of stayed in the journey of those days which started?
There were no advertising agencies, or it was not a structured market in those days. You know, you went to a shop who had goods and you persuaded the shopkeeper to advertise with you, saying that you will be able to sell his goods. And in many cases, you would have to underwrite a percentage of his stock. So he would say that if I'm going to invest 100 rupees in advertising, you have to underwrite maybe 150 or 160 rupees worth of my stock, so that I don't go into a loss, because the concept was not really there. So right in the beginning, we had to actually underwrite the product.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's very few people know that, but you have to underwrite the product to get them to market it in your paper. But we never really had to pay because they always sold.
So the dignity of an old newspaper, I think in my head still remains in today's day of reporting, which is anything but centered. How have you remained unbiased yet a legend in reporting as things are, as telling the society as it was, without the storms weathering it? It is a feat in today's day and world.
Well, we have a very simple policy. If we want to do a back check on news that's come in, we hold it back for a day. Those were days when you didn't have other media. In fact, some of our competitors, when they launched their newspapers in Bombay, came out with ad campaigns saying, would you like stale bread or would you like fresh bread, implying that our news was stale. But with pride I can say that our news has always been authentic and correct, even if it is a day old. It is checked, verified and then published. Those were the days before this media. The main principle that guides us is that when you open the paper in the morning, we want you to smile. We don't want you to feel depressed. We don't want you to only read about rape or murder or blackmail. We want you to read about positive things that are happening. And even when we criticize, and we do criticize, it is always constructive criticism. We don't believe that we need to criticize you with the intent to destroy you. We will criticize you in the hope that you will accept our criticism and improve.
Beautiful.
So that's the underlying policy of our paper.
It's amazing. Today's day of speed, when they're just trying to churn out everything.
We don't do that.
Whether they are fact checking or not, impacting millions and billions of minds, and now you tell me that you'll actually hold back news just so that you have it right. It is exemplary.
In fact, for years we were always called the Bible of the stock exchange, because that's where a lot of rumors went on and prices went up or down based on those rumors. But what people read in the Bombay Samachar is what they went by, and that stabilized the financial market. Absolutely. That stabilized the financial market.
You still have a large circulation. I mean, it is, first of all, it is impossible to hold a business that long. People are coming on. I don't see you throwing your promotions on our faces anywhere. You have the readers, they still swear by it. I've seen the offices, it has chronicles of pretty much 200 years of Indian history in there.
We sell our paper at 10 rupees a copy.
To date?
Yes. We are perhaps the most expensive paper in the city. But we believe that the reader must pay for content. And if the reader doesn't feel that my content is worth it, then I'm in the wrong business. So I often tell other newspapers when we meet that you guys have no confidence in your product because you are giving it away. And in many cases you are paying the reader to read your product. We don't do that. We make the reader pay. And the reader pays because he believes that our content has value. So 10 rupees, we will shortly be moving up to 15 rupees a copy.
Okay. That people pay premium for a luxury product, people will pay premium for an
It's
authentic
hardly a premium. Think of it that way, that you go out of my office and you ask for a cup of chai on the roadside, he'll charge you 15 rupees for that much. You know, Ramnath Goenka of the Indian Express, one of the few men in the industry that I admired, always used to tell me, he says the price of a newspaper should be that of a cup of tea on the roadside. Those were his words. So today actually everyone should be pricing their paper at 15 rupees because that's the price you pay for a cup of tea.
50%.
Yeah.
So I know you're a busy man.
So,
My last
time up.
question.
Okay.
Last question. What if you sat in a room filled with all the media houses of India today, as a veteran and someone who's seen India as it has not been in terms of your heritage, what would be the few words of advice or advice you would tell them?
I
For the
don't believe
future
in
world.
giving advice. I think it's very presumptuous of somebody to advise anybody. I don't believe in giving advice.
How would you tell the audience to be a little more discerning about the kind of news they read? You could.
You know, I blame social media for the mess we are in. Anybody posts anything and it's forwarded and re-forwarded and re-forwarded and it becomes news. Right or wrong is irrelevant. People start believing it. So, I don't know, I have no answers.
Thank you very much for your time,
Okay.
sir. I really appreciate it.
I walked down this magnificent building of Mumbai Samachar to where I saw the 1800s imperial press made out of pure cast iron. The progression from the old gauze machines to the News Line 45, which was manufactured by Monograph, is apparent. Meandering through the highs and lows of the building, through old corners, little pieces of history, little anecdotes, I marveled at this haven of heritage. So what did I learn from the now Padma Bhushan awardee winner Mr. Hormusji Kama? I learned news journalism and printing presses are a responsibility and we should try to keep him. He has definitely worked towards it. With these beautiful thoughts, thank you for this journey with me and see you next episode.